Joining us live now for more on today's polling numbers is Nik Nanos with Nanos Research. Nick, happy Monday. Good to see you. So what are we seeing in the polls today? I understand that there's been a slight gain with the Conservatives onto the Liberals.
Yeah, actually, Jennifer, what we're seeing is a narrowing of the gap between the Liberals and the Conservatives. At one point, the Liberals were 11 points ahead. Now they're only 5 percentage points ahead. The latest CTV News Global Mail tracking has the Liberals at 43%, the Conservatives at 38%, NDP way back at 8%. And what we're seeing is movement in Ontario and Quebec, and also a tight race in British Columbia.
Do you have a sense, Nick, of what the factors are that's tightening the gap here? Like you said, going from 11 to 6. Yeah. Well, I mean, we already seen the Conservatives going from like 26 to back. But I mean, do you have a sense of where the numbers are now, or why the numbers are doing what they're doing?
Well, what do we know? Pierre Poilievre hasn't changed his strategy. Mark Carney hasn't changed his strategy. Neither has Jagmeet Singh. The one thing that's different is that Donald Trump, the threat of Donald Trump, is not in the news. You know, in research that we did, it suggests that Canadians believe that the Carney Liberals benefit from tensions in the Canada-U.S. relationship. And, you know, last week we had Liberation Day, and that's when the Liberals opened up an 11-point advantage. With that out of the news, now people are focused on the cost of living. They're focused on taxes. They're focused on housing, jobs, and the economy. And it looks like in the absence of Donald Trump, we have a much more competitive race between the Liberals and the Conservatives. Maybe it's kind of like a normal election, as opposed to, not to say that Donald Trump makes things abnormal, but anyways, a normal election where they're duking it out on the big issues, and it's tight.
Yeah, okay, so we know that this is a very short federal election, kind of the shortest you can have. With 3 weeks to go, Nick, do you think that this could be really tight?
Absolutely, because what we've seen is the Liberals are down in the province of Quebec, the Bloc are up. Liberals are down in Ontario, the Conservatives are up. And, you know, you just reported on Carney and Poilievre being out in the West Coast and British Columbia. British Columbia is almost an absolute toss-up between the Liberals and the Conservatives, with the NDP in a distant third. It means that those vote splits could go either way, which probably explains why both of the front-running leaders are out in British Columbia right now.
Yeah. And it's interesting about, like you mentioning in Quebec, because, you know, that was where the Liberals, I think, really felt like they were going to, you know, win a whole bunch of seats here. If that race is tightening as well, that really, we'll see some campaigning in Quebec happening over the next couple of weeks as well then.
Absolutely. You know, here's the wild card, Jennifer and Nick. When we asked Canadians in a CTV News Global Mail survey when they would make their final vote decision, 2 out of every 10 Canadians, 20%, said they would make it in the last 72 hours, which means these numbers are not firm. Canadians are going to wait for the debate. They're going to wait for the platform. They're going to wait to see how the two frontrunners perform. And on the last weekend and on the very last day, Canadians will be rendering their final decision, and things could even change at the last minute.
Okay, there you have it. Nik Nanos from Nanos Research. Always appreciate your time. We'll chat again Friday. Thank you so much, Nick.